Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss introduction for experiment number 4, that is performance analysis of Hartnell Governor. We have already discussed about there are two basic different types of centrifugal governors are there. One is deadweight type and another is spring loaded type. And one of the famous popular spring loaded type of governor is Hartnell Governor. Now the schematic of Hartnell Governor is shown on the blackboard. Now here you can able to see the component of Hartnell Governor are frame which is connected to the spindle of governor, and at the end of both sides of frame there will be two bell crank levers are connected, and on the vertical arm of bell crank lever there will be fly balls connected on the both sides, and the sleeve will be connected to the horizontal arm of bell crank lever, and as the speed of spindle increases, bell crank lever deflect in such a way that sleeve will move in the upward direction, and as the speed decreases, sleeve will move in the downward direction, and this displacement of sleeve will be further utilized to control the speed of IC engine. In Hartnell Governor, the spring force which will be utilized to increase the speed range of governor within which the governor can work with IC engine. Now, whenever the IC engine works at high speed, the governors which are deadweight type will be not that much suitable for IC engine which are working on the higher speed. But in case of IC engine working on the higher speed, we can go with the spring loaded type of governor. Now here you can able to see that there is spring between frame and sleeve which will exert, or spring will exert force in the downward direction, which will increase the force acting on the sleeve, which will resist the motion of sleeve in the upward direction. So if anyhow sleeve has to lift in the upward direction, that has to be overcome to the spring force which acts in the downward direction. In case of Hartnell Governor, there are two extreme positions are possible. That is minimum radius of rotation and maximum radius of rotation of fly balls. And minimum radius of rotation will correspond to lowest possible sleeve, and maximum radius of rotation corresponds to highest possible sleeve displacement as such. Now here both the positions are represented with the free body diagram. In first free body diagram, the minimum radius of rotation is indicated. Here we can able to see the bell crank lever is represented with AOB, where AO is the vertical arm and OB is the horizontal arm of bell crank lever. On point A, there will be two forces acting. mg, that is fly ball weight acting in the downward direction. At the same time, as the governor is rotating, the centrifugal force Fc1 will be exerted in the outward direction. Whereas at point B, the force acting is mg by 2, capital Mg by 2, that is weight of sleeve divided by 2. Whereas there will be spring force, half of the spring force also act at the point B, and at the same time there will be some friction present between sleeve and spindle of governor, and half of the friction will be exerted at point B. Now same amount of force will be there on the another side also, and that's why it is we are taking symmetrical structure. That's why this denominator 2 is there. Whereas here if you see the representation of free body diagram, in while maximum radius of rotation, the forces are the spring force, centrifugal force is Fc2, mg is remaining constant, and this force at the point B or at the sleeve. Now if we take the movement of all the forces acting on the bell crank lever in free body diagram, and if we solve the equation, finally we will get the stiffness of spring of Hartnell Governor, and that equation becomes to be 2 into Fc2 minus Fc1 divided by R2 minus R1 into square of x by y. Now here Fc2 is centrifugal force when governor is at the maximum radius of rotation. Fc1 is the centrifugal force when the governor is at the minimum radius of rotation, and R2 and R1 are the maximum and minimum radius of rotation, whereas x is the vertical arm length of bell crank lever and y is horizontal length of bell crank lever. Now in our experiment, though it may be on the virtual lab or though it may be on the actual setup which is available in laboratory, we have to find out whether the governor is stable or not with the help of characteristic curve, that is controlling force versus radius of rotation. Now for this we need to note down few observation with the help of experimental setup available, and we can do the calculation in order to find out radius of rotation. Radius of rotation for any equilibrium speed can be determined with the help of equation given as r is equal to r1 plus x into x by y, whereas here r1 is the minimum radius of rotation, x is the sleeve displacement for the given speed of governor, whereas h by y is the ratio of arm length of bend lever axis. Second parameter we need to find out is angular velocity. Omega can be determined with the help of 2 pi n by 60. N can be easily measured with the help of tachometer for the governor. And third one is controlling force. Controlling force can be determined that can be determined with the help of equation F is equal to mr omega square. Now what exactly controlling force is? Controlling force is nothing but, now if you see here at point A, there will be some centrifugal force acting in the outward direction, but due to the centrifugal force, the movement of A is not continuous always. That will somewhere it becomes in equilibrium position, and that will be resulted in the equilibrium position because of centrifugal, because of there is one opposite force acting opposite to the centrifugal force, and that force is called as the controlling force, and that will be equal in magnitude and opposite in direction to the centrifugal force Fc1, and that will be determined with the help of mr omega square. This is mr omega square is nothing but what is centrifugal force acting at that point of radius of rotation. Now after obtaining all this performance parameter, we can able to plot the graph of F versus R. Now here in this case, there may be possibility of governor may be stable, governor may be not stable, and governor may be isochronous also. If your governor is stable, your graph should be of this nature, where y-intercept of that graph should be negative. And if you are having the graph for your governor with y-intercept as positive, the governor will be unstable. And if your graph is passing through origin of the graph, that governor will be considered as isochronous governor. This is experimental setup available in our laboratory, which is entitled as Universal Governor Apparatus, on which we are going to study how to analyze the performance of Hartnell Governor. Now this experimental setup is ready now for Hartnell Governor. You can able to see this is the spindle of governor, at the end of which the frame is connected, and at the end of frame there are two bell crank lever on both the side of frame, which will have two fly balls which are having some predetermined amount of weight as such. And now here you can able to see there is a spring between sleeve and frame of the governor. Now as this sleeve is moving in the upward direction, because of the increase in centrifugal force at the higher speed, as the sleeve moves in the upward direction, there will be resisting force exerted by the spring, and that will be utilized to increase the range of governor, in this case of Hartnell Governor. Now here we are going to note down basically two different parameters, that will be sleeve displacement and speed of governor. So speed of governor can be measured with the help of tachometer, what will be the speed of the governor, and at the another side, for that equilibrium speed, we can able to measure the height of sleeve displacement with the help of this pointer. Now I will start the rotation for the governor. Now as I increase the speed of governor, you can able to see that the centrifugal force increases. When the speed is at the lower side, the pointer shows the very minimum amount of sleeve displacement, whereas as the speed increases, the sleeve displacement will increase. So we can able to take n number of readings for particular amount of sleeve displacement, and we can able to measure the speed of governor, and with the help of calculation we can able to find out controlling force and the angular velocity, and we can able to plot the graph of performance characteristic curve for the Hartnell governor, which will able to know us whether the governor is stable or not. Hello everyone. Now next we will see how to analyze the performance of Hartnell Governor with the help of virtual lab. Now I will go to the virtual lab that will navigate you to that particular lab. In list of experiment, go to the experiment number 3rd, Hartnell Governor. Now you have to follow the process same as that of Porter Governor. First of all, go through the aim to visualize the working and effect of speed change of Hartnell Governor through simulation. Then you can read the theoretical part. Then you have to appear for pre-test, attempt pre-test, submit the pre-test, and whatever the score you are obtained, screenshot of that score you have to paste at the end of your experimental write-up. Then go for procedure. Procedure is illustrated here with the help of schematics. You can go through the procedure, but I am going to explain the procedure in detail here also. Then click on simulation. Now here you can able to see I can vary the mass again from the from 1 kg to 6 kg in the stage of 0.5, whereas I can able to increase the speed from 365 rpm to 400 rpm at the max. So actually we have to conduct the experiment here only, but I'll let you know what are the different avenues available here. You can able to see the minimum position of radius of rotation. You can able to see maximum position of radius of rotation also. Now you can click on the go to experiment. Here similarly you can have two experiment. First prefer to go with identification of parts of governor. Click on identify parts of governor and click on start experiment. So here again you have to identify the different parts of Hartnell governor. Likewise this will be the spring, and after selection of all the part name, take the snapshot of this and paste at the place of schematic which is given in the write up. Then exit this experiment. You can go to the calculation also, but when you go to the calculation, you can see here actually it is nothing but it is a numerical you have to solve. So we are not going to conduct experiment here. What we will do is we will go to the simulation tab again. In simulation tab, you can able to vary the mass of fly ball, but anyhow we are not going to vary the mass of fly ball, and we will vary the speed of governor, and accordingly we will measure what is lift of governor sleeve, and that will be note down. In experimental write-up you need to see here you have to paste the diagram from the virtual lab. After completion of identification of all the components, you have to take the snapshot of that and paste here with proper cropping. Then observations required Bell-Crank-Lever lens. Here Bell-Crank-Lever lens are given x and y as 90 mm, whereas initial radius of rotation R1 is 70 millimeters. Now here we have to note down from virtual lab 5 number of readings. Mass of fly ball, we will, for sake of experimentation, we will keep it constant at 5 kg for all the 5 readings, and we will vary the speed in the range of something 10 rpm, because the range is very narrow, which is from 365 to 400 only. So we will vary the speed in the stage. Before that you have to see at the minimum RPM, the sleeve displacement is minus 18.75. So we have to consider with reference to this data, we have to identify the what is height of governor sleeve. Initially it is minus 18.75. If I increase the speed to 371 rpm, the lift of sleeve indicate it is minus 15.99. That means we have to identify the height of sleeve increased by 18.75 minus 15.99. That will be the height of sleeve displacement. Speed of governor 375. Whatever the sleeve displacement we are obtaining from this, we have to note down. Similarly, we have to take the reading from 375, then you can go for 381, then you can go for 387, 390. Likewise you can note down 5 number of reading, 371, 375, then it may be 3 82, then it may be 387, and last one it may be 391 something. And for this speeds, we have to identify what is x component. Fortunately here now small x by y ratio is 1 rotation, because if you see radius of rotation is r1 plus x into x by y. X by y here factor is 1, ratio is 1, so that radius of rotation you can able to find out r1, that is 71 plus x dash. Controlling force can be determined with mr omega square, that you can write here. Now we have to plot the graph of controlling force versus radius of rotation, and draw that graph of controlling force versus radius of rotation and plot here, paste that graph here. But take care that you will identify the y intercept of that graph which is drawn for controlling force versus radius of rotation, and identify whether the governor is stable or not with the help of that graph. And finally you have to write here conclusion for experiment which you have conducted. Thank you.